We've secured finance.
We've got all the approvals.
Construction is imminent.
Adani says it's going it alone on its
controversial Queensland coal mine project.
Adani's announced it's going to go ahead with the Carmichael coal mine and that it's going to self-finance the project. Now, it's a very different project to what we were talking about a year ago. Initially, it was about a $16 billion mine, and they were looking for outside finance, so someone to come in and buy into the mine. Now, it wasn't able to get outside finance, so what Adani's done is it's scaled back its plans pretty drastically, and ultimately it believes it can get the project off the ground with about $2 billion, which it has itself.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. It's coal, coal, coal.
The federal government appears to be very supportive of Adani. Obviously, the Resources Minister, Matt Canavan, has been one of the biggest champions of the project.
Good news for Australia's resources.
Wait a second, let me answer your question.
Labor's position has been described as walking both sides of the street, and that applies to both the federal opposition and the Queensland state Labor government. Both have not outright opposed the project. In fact, the Queensland government is notionally supportive of the Adani project. Now, what Adani has done by announcing that it will go ahead is it's really put a lot of focus on Labor in Queensland and federally to see how the party is going to react. They stand to lose support probably on both sides, depending on how it goes, but it's come to the crunch, and ultimately Labor can't really walk both sides of the street on this issue.
Very careful if you're asking us, do we tear up contracts that are signed and stop work that's started? That's a very difficult thing to do.
Adani certainly sees a great risk in not being well advanced come the federal election, and that would put Labor in a much more difficult position to come in and then start to rescind some approvals, particularly if Adani's committed money. Adani do have a large number of the approvals they require, but there are a couple that are still outstanding that could prove problematic. There's a thing called a Groundwater Dependent Ecosystem Management Plan that has not yet been approved. So Adani simply cannot disturb the ground at the Carmichael mine site without that approval, and that is something that could potentially hold them up.
It's been a long, hard battle for us. It has.
There is still a native title challenge before the federal court. The Queensland government will come under some pressure to extinguish or not native title prior to that appeal happening. Adani also needs to negotiate access to the Horizon rail network with Horizon. Now, those negotiations have started, but there are some potentially very serious sticking points here. So these are things that ultimately do need to get sorted. I don't believe environmentalists would view a slimmed down mine as any sort of victory. This whole process with Adani has been very symbolic. I mean, we're talking about a brand new thermal coal basin. It is the antithesis of what everyone who has been arguing that we need to move away from coal for climate reasons believes. That is why the Adani project has become kind of really symbolic in the climate fight, but it's also become pretty symbolic for people who are proponents of coal as well. So a slimmed down mine is not going to be seen as a victory by environmentalists. It will be seen as a victory for those who are proponents of coal, despite the fact that there aren't as many jobs as we were initially talking about.